Welcome back to the 6 Yard Box podcast, the podcast of the official Juventus Club of Toronto. Joe, James, and John are here back with you for episode 17. Thanks so much for joining us wherever you're listening to on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. We'd love to have you. We're going to get down and dirty with some Juventus talk. I know it's been a while since we had our podcast, but a lot to dig in and a lot to get to. So thank you for all for listening. We have some great, exciting news from our club. We're growing. We're on great track to even surpass last year's totals. Still number one in the world for international clubs. For our members, if you haven't joined,
Joe, come on, woo! Give me the woohoo, Joe. Come on. We need that, buddy.
Olé.
That's
Olé.
the smile. There we are. That's what we need. We need the woohoos of the world.
But in all seriousness, that we are doing really well, and thanks to you, our members and those listening. If you haven't signed up yet, our membership drive is still going. It's take a look on our website, jofctoronto.com/memberships. You'll find all the great information there. We've got exciting partnerships to announce. All JOFC Toronto members from now until the end of the season will be receiving 20% off at Etal Sport Apparel. That's 20% off everything in store. Location on 1339 St. Clair Avenue West. I know I was down there in July. I know many of you were. Check them out. Check out Lino and get your 20% off. Great stuff. He's got a lot of Juve merch, and so does our other partner up here in the burbs, Soccer Max, with 3 locations to serve you in Mississauga, Milton, and in Maple. Triple M there. So that's 15% off everything in store and 20% off Juve jerseys for the rest of the season. We actually just had an event where we gave out our membership gifts there. Thank you to Max for having us this past Saturday. It was great. And for those that don't know, members will receive a gift, officially licensed Juventus umbrella, and you'll be able to take part in all these discounts and our fantasy pool, Fanta Calcio, which will be beginning again in January. So please, if you haven't, jofctoronto.com/memberships. Sign up today, sign up your family, and let's keep growing that Bianconero family. One club, one family is what we love to say here. Gentlemen, a lot of stuff to talk about for Juve. We will start it off with today's game. We're recording this on Wednesday evening, a couple hours after the Juventus win, a 1-0 over Malmo. We did win the group after we got some help from our friends in Russia over at Zenit St. Petersburg. So thanks for those for that performance. With 15 points, we finished top of the group. Chelsea will finish second. John, I'll start off with you for your thoughts on the game, and James, I'll get your reaction right after. So let's just jump right into it. What did you like? What were your thoughts on the 6th game of this match day 6?
I think it just, for me, what it proved is Allegri's ability just to give some guys a try. For people who think that Allegri is stuck in his ways and is an individual who doesn't like young players, well, today with changing it up, Perin and net, De Winter playing Keane. I know we already clinched and we're looking at other domestic fixtures that we have to obviously protect with injuries. I think it was an opportunity to see some of play. I thought that Bernardeschi, I mean, just the outside of the foot cross was just it was just beautiful. I mean, I think he's been a soldier that Max can rely on to play it simple. And I think that that's one thing that he's rediscovered is simple play, keeping it simple, dishing out the ball, not doing too much. And I think that he had started that falter from going by doing that with Sarri 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and then with Pirlo just in a slump. I thought that he was someone that we could rely on, played well. When's the last time you saw a forward heading a ball into a net for us? Someone with the position on defense, someone who's robust. So it was a welcome goal, type of goal. Nothing that is scrappy or penalty shot or off of a quick play in the box. something that we really haven't seen that type of build up. So it's great to see that, and they'll give, you know, our opponents another aspect, another dimension to worry about it with us, with a guy like Keane, who's proven to score. He's done it in with PSG at the top level, and he, you know, we're hoping for more from Moise, and that's it. Like, I just thought it was a great win. I wasn't expecting a blowout just based upon the lineup, but I was hoping for you know, at least my scoreline was 2-0 tops, so I wasn't too far off on that. Outside of that, some decent play. I didn't think that we were very conservative today, so played it safe, and there was a lot of discipline on the field.
Yeah, and James, what did you see on the pitch, and your thoughts on a pretty convincing win? I thought it personally it should have been more than 1-0, but curious to hear your reaction.
And this is where the importance of winning and getting your points early in the Champions League. So they were able to basically max the points out, except for that loss in London that we don't want to talk about. But by getting the points in, clinching it early, it gave them the opportunity for Allegri to give these minutes to younger players. Showed some faith in them. He gave a lot of them their first Champions League starts. The other big thing that I liked as well too was they looked at the calendar, and Kulusevski, if you follow us on the 6-Yard Podcast Instagram account, so we gave the update that Kulusevski had nasal surgery this week. So they looked at the calendar, they saw the easy set of games, and they took advantage that let him have that 7-day rest, and that gave opportunities to other players where, you know, Bernardeschi took advantage of it. And it gave good time to rest as well. So by them playing and eating up those minutes, Peralta got his little run for 10, 15 minutes, but because the other players played well, it gave him 80 minutes of rest that he'll be ready and fresh for the weekend. So it was good. I would have liked to see some more goals go in. Morata had chances, Keane had chances, and I think that's just been the story for the last little bit of, you know, the opportunities are there. We just got to bury them in the back of the net.
Yeah, agreed. And I think, you know, more importantly, I believe the coach Allegri is getting more comfortable with this 3-5-2 or 3-4-1-2 hybrid that he's trying to put together. That might be the way to go. I think the players are more comfortable in that, and it gives you more cover on counterattacks, which were a bit of a weakness earlier this season. So maybe this is the formation going forward. It seems to be working, but it remains to be seen. It's a different Juventus in Europe than it is in the league, and we'll talk about Serie A very shortly, but it's looking good. And I think we all have to keep our expectations a little bit more measured, because we did win our group in the last 2 seasons, and we did face an easy opponent, the easiest opponent in the round of 16, and we lost both times. So I say let's temper expectations, but it does mean something to win the group. Financially, you get more money, but also from a reputation standpoint, it was important for us to win the group. Even though we did get shellacked by Chelsea a few weeks ago, doesn't matter, because we took care of our business earlier, as you mentioned, James, and we deserve to be first place. We were the most consistent out of the 4 teams in this group. So good, positive things to build on for sure. Just taking a look at the draw, which I believe is going to happen on Friday. But, you know, we've got, as group winners, we are seeded, and we'll be facing one of the second place teams. We cannot face an Italian team, and we cannot face Chelsea per UEFA rules. So right now, PSG and Atletico stand out as 2 teams that, you know, those would be the hardest by far. But, you know, a team like Sporting Lisbon, Benfica, we lost to Porto last year, a Portuguese team. So I'm not taking anybody for granted, but let's build on this, and we'll wait for the draw. And if it happens to be a big team like PSG, it'll be a heck of a game regardless. So we are going to win once we have won the group, excuse me, and we're into the last 16. Taking it back to the league, where it's a different story. Can't believe I'm saying this at this point in early December, but we are not in a position for the Champions League right now in the Serie A standings. We're sitting 5th, 7 points from 4th, a position that Juventus hasn't been in almost 10 years, if not more. James, I'll get your reaction now on just the last couple of weeks, building off, we had that frustrating loss against Atalanta. That was a killer. We can get them back in Bergamo next in the early new year, but it was a difficult loss to swallow. And I know a lot of our members, fans have been frustrated, albeit 15 games, but 3 important matches to round off 2021. James, can you walk us through a couple of the games? Saturday's Venezia. Then we have a game against a surprising package in Bologna, and then wrapping it up against Cagliari, who is fighting for relegation.
Yeah, so what's remaining, these 3 games, and the past game that we played, there's 12 points on the table. 12 points will easily get us back in that zone to fight for the top 4. So these are games that should not be taken for granted, and they need to go out there and play to their full capability. What's happened is we've dropped too many points early in the season against teams that we should have beaten, and then there was just bad luck on sometimes. That game against Napoli, we basically were playing without 5 South Americans, and it was a tight one. It was a 2-1, but if we ended up winning that game or even tying that game, we could have a different conversation going on. So anytime we seem to build some momentum with a couple wins, we always seem to have our tires deflated and have to build back up. Now, the last time after that loss against Atalanta, what's happened is Allegri has now decided that the formation was not working. 4-4-2 is just not working. He doesn't have the personnel for it. And we're going to see a hybrid of a 3-5-2 or a 4-2-3-1. Either way, I like both of these positions for our team. The reason for it is it allows Dybala not to be a support striker, but then you still get your Bernardeschi's or Kulusevski's to be in that offensive area and be able to attack and give that support. But the key to all this, though, is we need that heading capability from Morata. We need Keane to also earn some minutes and get in the box to give those points of reference for this formation. If you remember when Conte used this formation in Juve's first season, it was Macri, who at the end of the day is no one's ever going to consider him a world beater, but he was key to that formation as that focal point. So this is what we need from Morata. Morata's a player of confidence. He needs to get a few in a row to play and play hard, because when he's down on himself, you see it on the field, and that happened on our last game where he was frustrated. Sergio played like he was in his 20s and stopped him point blank a few times. He took a yellow, and Allegri made the change. So again, all these points are winnable. What's great about the schedule is we have these smaller teams at the tail end of it. So when we're going into next season, into the second half of the year towards the end, we have these winnable games where teams like, and in my opinion, Milan and Napoli have overachieved, and we're kind of seeing them take a other step. So all we have to do, the only person who's going to control Juve's destiny is Juve. They need to win, can focus on themselves, and then let the balls lie everywhere else.
And you made mention to the level of competition. John, I want to get your thoughts on the games that are immediately after the new year, with Juventus Napoli on the 6th, Roma 3 days later on the 9th, and then we have the Super Cup. Unfortunately, it's been scheduled in San Siro and our opponent is Inter, which is kind of, it's unfair, but we've beaten them before in their stadium. So what are your thoughts on those? Those are really 3 tough games that are really going to show what we're made of.
With regards to the 3 games, my concern is the formation, and I know that he's looking at the 3-5-2 or a hybrid of a 4-2-3-1 or whatever, a 4-3-1-2 or whatever it may be. I'm a 3-5-2 fan, massive. That doesn't win Europe. It may win in Italy, but it won't win in Champions League. It is a proven fact that formation does not win you championships. Has not won. We had that when we had a wall in defense, and we did not win against Barcelona or Real Madrid. We were unable to win. Going into these fixtures with Napoli, where it's going to help us out is how we lost to Napoli the first time. Is we didn't have a row of players that were crucial to our team. Napoli will have players out due to cup commitments in Africa, just like other teams. Roma is in a very difficult position. They haven't been playing up to snuff. They had a terrible result against Inter this past weekend. They looked horrible. The entire game was dominated by Inter. I didn't think it was even a match. I thought they were out there on a Sunday stroll. But that means there's an opportunity over the holidays for these guys to regroup and play hard, as everyone does play hard against Juventus. And I'm expecting where the Super Cup really hasn't been something that has been a trophy of expectation for Juventus over the course of the last 9 years, where it's great if you win it. They never really, it's like an add-on, this cherry on top. Now it will be crucial to the motivation and the psyche and the confidence of the team. I think if you can come out of the end of 2021 with your victories and have everyone go for relaxation and during the festivities, during the holiday break, you'll have an opportunity to regroup for January 6th fixture against Napoli, then 3 days later against Roma, and then on January 12th against Inter at San Siro. You're talking about in 6 days the turn of 3 games. So that's going to be a big feat. Last year, this time, January was our best month. We went on a tear where we lost 1-11, I think, under Pirlo. So let's see if we can pull that off again. We need to recover players. My understanding is that Chiesa will be a decision for that Roma game. That'll be pretty much the time where he's expected back. Hopefully McKennie's back by then, and we'll recover a few players. And we've given players the load management break. You can say guys like Chiellini, you'll see Chiellini against Napoli, and you'll see Chiellini in the Supercoppa. You will not, from my perspective, you will not see Chiellini against Roma. So you're not going to see him play those types of games. With the vital games, you'll see him there. And hopefully, just hopefully, when the transfer market opens, we will have a few added faces and a few deleted faces from our team that will give us the understanding, give the players. You have to understand, these are still young men. I'm older than all of them at the age of 44, so I can tell you from just being an experience, like these guys are they're seeing the issues at hand, and they want to win as well. There used to be a pedigree with this team that isn't there, and Allegri's trying to rebuild that confidence and that winning pedigree. And I think we're on the right step. Today showed a level of commitment to what Allegri wanted to see. And again, I'm hoping for a strong game against Napoli. I don't think we're going to lose that game. And I don't think we're going to lose a game against Roma either. My only concern is playing the Supercoppa in Milan against Inter.
Yeah, it's again, I mentioned this before, but the Supercoppa is supposed to be on a neutral ground. And the Serie A, we know they made some really questionable decisions over the years, and some things never change. But speaking on Serie A, before we move on to our next topic on transfers, just a little bit of a spiel on the team. There's been a lot of frustration, among our members, but even just fans, Juventus fans in general, over the last few months. It's, yes, the team is flawed. It's an inconsistent team, but it's our team.
Yes.
And just to put this into perspective, it's only been 16 games. We are 7 points out, which 7 points out is, you can make that up very quickly in soccer. In the Italian league, it's one of those leagues where it's a slow grind. It's a marathon. It's a slow burn. There's still a lot of football to be played. Like, it's only 16 games. The frustrations and the things I read online is, quite honestly, very embarrassing to see this as a fellow Juventus fan. And, I would say to those people, like, it's not the end of the world. And actually, I would encourage them to educate themselves on not only this sport, but the league and this team, because you're either with us or against us. And if you don't like how it's going, because at the end, this is still a well-run team and it will get better. But if you're not patient enough for it, hop off the bandwagon and go follow another team, or go watch golf or NFL, because this really isn't for you at this point. So there are better times ahead. We are so spoiled with winning that maybe people have not seen that side of Juventus, which, we've been watching for decades, and we know the dark times that were not so long ago. I mean, it was only 10 years ago when I was finishing high school where it was really dark times, finishing in 7th place. And then we started that cycle. So it's going to get better. And today's win really underscores that. And as Allegri has said in the past, the season doesn't really get going until February. So a lot of action to play. I think things will work themselves out starting in January with potential transfer news. John, I'll switch this back over to you. What have you been hearing from your sources and on social media on potential moves for Juve? Because we do need them. I will admit it, that there has to be something done in January.
Well, I want a clump of money, but not the thousands or $100 bills. We need $1 million bills. Look, I mean, the holes we know that we've suffered is in the midfield, in the holding midfield position, and in attacking support. I mean, Quadrado has been fantastic, but he can't do it alone. Bernardeschi is a great asset, but you need to make difference. You want to go deep into the Champions League. You want to make a difference. You want to be at top of this league again. You need a pedigree. And as much as I know James brought up Morata and whatever, I look, Morata's best games for Juventus were always off the bench. He came off the bench last week and scored a goal. So, I mean, we need to look at players that are going to make a difference, who that forward is. And, I know the big talk has been from from out in Florence of Vlahovic, and that won't happen. It looks like until June. He hasn't signed his contract. So look for that to get very interesting with Mr. Camiso making it, they got to talk to me before they talk to anybody else. So it's actually quite funny and comical to read thing, but that's part for the course for Italian newspaper or Italian TV in terms of soccer. It's more of a soap opera or what we call this reality television. I'm wondering when someone's going to pop out and give a rose to Camiso and ask him on a date. But yeah, him, Zakaria also is on the hit list for Juventus, as is Tehomeni, the French player. So, and there's also Witzel, who's always been, an Allegri a favorite, and I just don't know. I kind of look at that as a band-aid. I don't want to go to the well to these players. And now there's talks of Cavani being coming over during the transfer window because he can't find any space at Manchester to come on. And today was a pure example where the new head coach, and his name escapes me, my apology, came out and played with a lineup that did not include Cavani at all. And this is after they had already clinched a position where most teams are putting out players, out there to give them time on the pitch. So those are the voices, the names I've been hearing, and the names of going out. Kulusevski, Arsenal, is apparently looking to fly into Torino and start talks for a transfer in January. Same thing with Ramsey going to Everton. James brought that up as we started the show before, and that's been and then there's been a back and forth. I know James heard a $10 million transfer fee. I heard 0. If we can get 10 million, I will fly over into Torino and carry him on my back across the channel into England and pawn him off to Everton. No problem. There's still talks about Bernardeschi and also Rabiot, and that is talks with Watford. Appearing Ranieri has interest in both of them and has made that known to management. I don't know if I'm ready to let go of Berna, especially the type of play he's been giving us. Very steady, very confident, very reliable, and I think that that's something that we've been missing. I wouldn't Adrian Rabiot. I don't know. I think there's been way too many mulligans and opportunities for him to do things. If he left, great. I mean, you're talking about a huge chunk of change, Joe. We were talking about it. It's pretty much $14 million gross for Ramsey a year that we're paying him. I don't know exactly what Rabiot is. James, do you have any clue about what Rabiot's salary is at? Because
he's not exactly at Ramsey level, but he's close.
Right. So you're looking, if that's the case, we're looking at close to 25 million or there between 25 and 30 million in gross wages. I know, Ronaldo left and that saved us all, but if you can save 64 plus 30, 100 million, you go out there and grab yourself some decent players, maybe it may not be in the transfer market. And as you said, Joe, this is a process. And I agree with you. Fans need to be patient. We've had 9 years of absolute success. Yes, we didn't win the trophy with the big ears, and not too many people have won it outside of England or Spain. And with the exception of Bayern, it's an opportunity to really look at the team and start off. And I'm really interested if the team is going to go and look hard at Italian contingency. There's talks of Romagnoli at the end of the season. I would love to see Romagnoli in a Juve jersey. I'd love to see Italian content. I'd love to see players, this is just off a wish list. And I don't know, you guys, I'd love to see guys like Pessina, like Scamacca, play alongside guys like Locatelli and Dybala. And those are just players that I personally think would have a presence and an opportunity to excel with the Bianconeri.
And just to wrap up on transfers, and actually to take it back before we get to our member questions, Juventus Women have just signed Julia Grosso, midfielder and Olympic champion, our very own Canadian Julia Grosso, this week. She'll be wearing number 15 and playing in midfield for us. Obviously, she's of Italian descent and an up-and-coming 21-year-old footballer. So this is really exciting news, not only for Juventus getting top quality talent, but also reaching out to other markets in Canada, which has a huge women's soccer presence, obviously being Olympic champions, and a large Italian presence. A smart move by management, but on and off the field. So we welcome Julia. It's going to be exciting to see how she progresses for her own career, just finishing college and now becoming a professional. That's great news. And shout out to the women's team today. A big draw away at Chelsea. Chelsea Women is actually one of the top teams in the world, not just on the men's side, but even the women's side. And to tie 0-0 in a scrappy game away in London is a fantastic result. We're now technically, with one game left, second in the group of our UEFA Women's Champions League group. Right now, as it stands, we would qualify over Wolfsburg. We have one game less against Servette FC, which is dead last in the group, Swiss team. So that should be an easy win, and that's going to be at home. So it's very likely that we will be, for the first time ever, Juventus Women will be in the knockout stages of the Women's Champions League, which is a huge deal for not only the team, but also for the Serie A Femminile, which is desperately trying to catch up to some of the other European nation powers. And I highly encourage those of you who have DAZN, and if you have a VPN, you can watch the women's games and the men's youth team as well. But for the women, it's, the days of those go back to the kitchen jokes are long gone. Like, this is high level quality football. It's amazing to see this. So if you do have a VPN and have the zone, switch over to Italy. They do show the matches on Juventus TV on DAZN Italia. I highly recommend it, and we will be supporting you from overseas. And we can't wait to celebrate, the continued dominance of Juventus in the league in Italy and now Europe, which is really, really exciting. And excited to see Julia on the pitch. Hopefully, more Canadians, both on the men's side and women's side, are going to come over because hey, we're a hotbed now for soccer in the world. Recent results have shown that. So this is really, really exciting.
For me personally, it's a big deal. A Canadian playing for Juventus Women. My daughter, very active, and it's a role model for her, someone that she can see and look up to. And I have Juventus TV just to watch the women's game, and I'm fans. I think I might be a bigger fan of them than my daughter. I love the front three, and I just hope the men can watch and see how they play an awesome 4-3-3 and try to mimic it.
No joke. I can echo both of you, and it is an absolute, it's exciting when you have that brand of soccer, that strength. They are so strong. And I honestly, what Joe said, and what James said, guys, if you're out there listening, watch these women. They are that good. They are that strong as a team, and it's exciting when you can pick up the remote, turn on it, and watch these women play. They are phenomenal. And with the addition of a Canadian, even more of a push to turn on download that app, get the VPN, and watch our ladies play, or buy Juventus TV.
Yeah, exciting times ahead, most certainly. And we're currently first in Serie A, in Serie A Femminile, and it's just great to see. So, guys, I'm going to hand it over to our members, actually, who have written in from our Facebook group. So thank you we have a couple of questions. So thank you for those that wrote in. I'll start off with a question from Michael Korobin. He asks, I would be interested in hearing your thoughts on whether it's possible for Juve to be relegated to Serie B based on current allegations, referring to the Plusvalenza investigation. And if they were, what would be the impact of the club going forward? So, James, you've been following this story closely. For those that haven't been following, you can look at all our daily updates on the 6 Yard Box podcast's social feeds. So 6 Yard Box Pod on Instagram and at 6 Yard Box Podcast on Twitter, as well as 6 Yard Box Podcast on Facebook. For those that haven't been following, James, tell us a little bit about the situation and what possible ramifications we could be seeing, and I do have to make a mention, the investigation is still ongoing. So everything that we're talking about is purely speculation.
Yeah. So first off is what that plusvalenza means, and try to give the Coles Notes version of it. It's very on the accounting side. So take a player. If a player is signed, and let's just use a round number. So he signed for a 4-year deal of $100 million. So that $100 million doesn't go into that first year. So in year one, in the financial books, that player isn't listed as we spent $100 million. It's amortized. So that first year is 25, then the next year, next year, next year. So what ends up happening is when you sell that player in year 3, you would need to sell him at at higher than $50 million to get a plusvalenza. So what is being investigated is these swap deals that's happened. So the key one that is when Arthur and Pjanic swapped. So I believe the actual difference, so Juve on paper paid more for Arthur. I believe the value was maybe about 13 million. But what ended up happening is, because of the plusvalenza of how it's recorded, Juve and Barcelona actually made market gains by doing that swap deal. So the question then becomes, if you have a buyer and a seller, and the seller is willing to say, I'm willing to pay this, how can you think that you're fraudulent in the books? So that's where the heart of the matter is. So Juve had a number of these deals where they swapped players and said, okay, here's this value, and then each team seemed to make a gain on it. So and it's not just a Juve thing, it's a Serie A thing, it's a European football thing, because Barcelona made a gain on that sale, on the Pjanic swap. The Cancelo deal with Cancelo and Danilo going the other way, that's another one that was being looked at. And it's not, each player does not have a set value like this is it. It's what someone is willing to pay. So what's going to be hard for the finance bank to come and determine is this player at that time, you know what, at that time when that sale happened, he may have been worth this much because you had supply and demand issues. So at that time it might have happened, but then, you know, it happens a lot of times when a player first 3 months at a new club drops and their value drops. So it makes it look like, hey, it didn't work out that way. So that's the Coles Notes version of what plusvalenza is and why they're looking at Juve. Now, the ramifications of what could happen. So Inter and I believe Milan were also years ago caught and found guilty in one of these situations. They had fines that were levied to them. Now the other predecessing case was Chievo Verona, the Flying Donkeys. They were actually relegated to Serie B, but that was their case was not as similar to the Juve case. It's more, there was more other factors to it that would see that relegation. So right now in the headlines, it is Juve, but you have a whole other series of clubs, and the biggest transaction that they are looking at actually involves Napoli. The striker there, I forget what his name is. I'm losing his name. He came over from Lille. Osimhen. So when that transfer happened, they had a dollar figure that was written in the books, and then to level out, Napoli sent players over, youth players, and then those youth players never made it up a certain level. So that's the other one that is being looked at. So to me, this seems a lot, in my personal opinion, it seems a lot like Calciopoli, where you have a secondary body that's looking into Calcio. But this is something that football does. It's not, you might have, like, for example, the sales is sales everywhere, but there's a certain sales culture that belongs to, retail than belongs to photocopier sales. So you can't do apples and oranges in this case. But now they're investigating, and at first you were hearing this, and now the next one you're hearing is involved in the Ronaldo transfer. It just, as a Juventus fan, looking from the back and seeing what's happened in the past, you do feel like it is kind of a witch hunt on success, being the most successful. But as of right now, I don't see any significant punishment, because if you have to punish them, you have to punish everybody else.
There's no case to be made. This is a ridiculous allegation. It's ridiculous. I can't believe they would even go so far to do that. If it was approved in the UEFA has to approve these transfers across leagues. If they were approved from both governing bodies of England, or excuse me, for Spain in the case of Pjanic, and Italy, and in the case of Manchester City with the Danilo and João Cancelo swap, they had to go through European regulators. Everything was fine. This is all smoke and mirrors. The Italian government is just desperate for money to get any kind of thing they can get. And I wouldn't be surprised if a fine is levied, but I wouldn't be shocked if there would be no fine at all, because really there's no crime here. So thank you for your question, Michael. I think we're going to be fine. John, did you have any quick thoughts on this, or is it more the same?
It's just what I hear, and I hear from my voices, is a prosecutor who's looking to put his name in the lights. You know, you can't put your name in the lights with Crotone. You're putting your name in the lights with Juventus. We've already had this discussion many a times on this podcast on the impact of Juventus on domestic and international play. We are the most marketable. We are the most watched. We are the most hated. We are the most loved. And you're not going to make a stick. No one really cares about Inter. No one really cares about Milan. To really think about it, I don't care about a team that's owned by a conglomerate or a fund, whatever the fund's called, Elliott. You know, I really don't care about a team that don't know if they have an owner or not in Steven Zhang and what have you. So I mean, you're gonna go and try to hit the club that has the most power and market and value, and it's easy to go out on a team that actually spends money or attempts to better their team every year, whereas others, you know, are we going to talk about the fact that Inter still owes Manchester United for Lukaku, and Lukaku no longer wears an Inter jersey? I mean, these are ridiculous opportunities where I don't know how you have someone who is, if I'm having a transaction with you, Joe, and I said to you, I'm going to give you this phone for $25. And you say, okay, no problem. Then someone else, oh, you know, it's only worth 10. I don't care. Joe gave me $25. Why is it anybody's business in Italy? And you said it. It's UEFA's jurisdiction, not FIGC, not the Italian government, not the Guardia di Finanza. It's not. It has nothing to do with it. And it just clearly shows the level of absolute mediocrity in terms of intelligence in that country, you know. And you know, and then you wonder why the state of Italian football is what it is. Why? How could you do anything? How could you even even want to be an entrepreneur and build a team where you're given every opportunity to succeed in England and other places, Germany, what have you? Why would you even want to set foot in Italy and be an owner when you can't go out there because there's going to be someone there who's going to want to, you know, steal your thunder? It's disheartening. It's disappointing as a fan where we want to control. And when is this even happening? When do they even announce all this stuff? What do we lose to? Atalanta that day when all this went down and more information came out, just like last year with Fiorentina and the decision to turn over the game decision of Napoli not showing up for their game. I mean, this is stuff that really is becoming old news and honestly like a rash. And that's what the Italian government is a bad rash that there's no cure for.
Yeah, I mean, harsh but fair. That's just the way it is. So hopefully that sheds light on that for those, because I know it's been a confusing situation. So thanks again for explaining that so succinctly, James. Our second question comes from Massimo Violante. So thank you, Massimo, for your question. He asks, Massimo asks, in an ideal scenario, what would be the one move, be it front office, on-field, coaching, transfer market, etc., that you would make to bring Juve back to prominence? And he says, I'll throw mine out there, bring back Giuseppe Marotta. So thank you for your question, Massimo. That's actually a good, not a bad idea. I mean, seeing as he was the architect behind our rebirth 10 years ago, I would say if it was one thing and one thing only, because like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of issues that have to be fixed with this team that have stemmed from some poor decisions, quite frankly, over the last few years. But what's the one thing that will pave over cracks, not just in sports, but in all aspects of life? And that's money. So how do you get more money? Well, the one thing I would change is on January 1st, at a snap of a finger, give me a new lucrative television deal for Serie A, double the money, and that will pave over a lot of what we need. I mean, you talk about transfers, like we mentioned, it needs money. And why are the Premier League teams doing so well while the Spanish teams are barely have their heads above water, where the French league almost collapsed last year and where Serie A is barely treading themselves? It's because they have those lucrative contracts, which they've earned rightfully. I mean, it's capitalism, and they have the best product out there, and television broadcasters want to pay the most money for it. And so they should. They get the most views. They get the most attention. Fair is fair. But what a new deal would do for Serie A would, that it would just be a trickle down effect to help not only us, but also the other teams to kind of put a little bit more brand value on this league, where domestically, like, we mentioned that we're fifth place, 7 points from fourth, but it's been a pretty exciting and entertaining year, to see now Inter and Atalanta sneaking in. It's a genuine 4-team race for the title. We really don't know who's going to win. And if Juventus, if luck goes our way and we start playing more consistently to our abilities, it could be a 5-team race pretty quickly, especially after that stretch in January. So the league is doing well. Domestically, people are paying a little bit more attention, even with Ronaldo leaving, but we can't win in Europe. Atalanta, their game got postponed today, but they're not a shoo-in to make it tomorrow. Milan was finished bottom of the group, where they probably shouldn't have, even though they had injury problems and they haven't been in Europe for a while. We got to start winning, whether it's Juventus or another. Hopefully, it's most likely going to be us because we've got the best chance. But Italian teams got to start doing better in Europe and start getting better players, better infrastructure, more amenity. I'm not saying rebrand the stadium right away, but there's some desperate renovations needed in some of these stadiums that they need. It looks like crap.
80%, 70%, whatever it is. You think about it, Joe. In all of Italy, Dacia in Udine, Sassuolo Stadium, maybe even Atalanta Stadium, it's been better off, and Allianz. What other stadium would you even consider? I've been to Rome. It's falling apart. You walk outside, you're gonna bust an ankle on the broken cement walkway. Like, it's insane. You're right. It's the product is the product starts with the experience. And if you don't have the experience of stepping into a stadium that's in your backdrop and what have you, that stadium alone, it brings in a value. I mean, I'm going to tell you, I don't want to go off. April 26, 2017, I was there. Juventus set a record for attendance to their J Stadium tour and the museum that day. It's insane. Like, that's the market people want to see. They want an experience. People just don't want to show up and experience the game. They want to know where the players sit. They want to be able to get within the touchline of that pitch. They want to be able to see the artifacts that belong to their team, whatever. This is the only team that has it, and it's succeeding. Why haven't teams like Milan and Inter follow suit? Why haven't teams followed suit? I mean, you have markets like Rome and Milan, their stadiums are terrible. Napoli, you can't even step foot in that stadium. That stadium has been dressed up to look like a horse, but it's still a donkey underneath. And it's unfortunate. But like, this is a stuff that is it's bitter. I'm bitter as a Juve fan because we have a product, but yet we're stuck protecting 17 other teams that don't know how to be proactive and productive as an organization. And it starts with a commitment, like you said, to a TV deal. Until we get that TV deal, this league will not move in any direction close to the EPL.
And let's keep in mind just how important TV money is. We saw last year where there were no fans, and Juventus lost at least 80 million in not being able to have people come to the museum and to the stadium. Now we've seen already a couple of countries, Austria, Netherlands, and even Germany, they've had to reshut their stadiums. There's no fans indefinitely because of still the coronavirus that is still a cloud that hangs over our world. So that it just makes that TV deal all the more important if you can't get fans as another source of revenue. So to answer your question, Massimo, that would be it, because you could do a lot with that money. You could get proper amenities, you can get better trainers, you can get better coaches, and more importantly, you can get better players to hop in January. It kind of like an airlift to kind of support you for the rest of the season. So, it would be great to have a new, a really good director, sporting director, and we have a great coach, but if you wanted to get an even better coach, you have to pay them. And unfortunately, that the COVID-19 pandemic really significantly hurt Juventus more than many of the teams in Europe. So that's one thing that I would change. That just about wraps it up for our show. It was a lot to take in, a lot of great news, some negatives and positives. Just before we leave, James, just remind our listeners one more time where they can catch you posting updates daily for our social feeds.
Yeah. So daily we're on. Make sure I get it right here. We are on Instagram at the 6 Yard Box Podcast. And then we are also, we have a Facebook group. We also now have a TikTok, active TikTok as well.
You dancing?
Trying to get hip.
You gonna do some?
We try to get hip with some
James?
dancing on there. We'll see what else we can put up there.
Spanish line dancing, buddy. Let's do it.
We'll do it. We'll do it next time we get together. We'll do the Corrado dance all three of us.
I'll do it.
I'm up for it.
Yeah, get Joe in there. Joe's got the hips. They don't lie.
maybe we're gonna have one going on. We'll have some kids stitching to it, and we can see what's going on. And then the other thing that we're gonna use for that TikTok is this podcast as well. I know we try to keep it short and compact with an hour, but people are busy. Sometimes we just need a 3-minute soundbite, and it was going to be on that TikTok as well.
Awesome.
Great stuff. So yeah, again, check us out there. Juve Club TO on Twitter, our main account, and Juve Club Toronto on Instagram, jofctoronto.com/memberships. Take advantage of this great offer at Soccer Max and Etel Sport. We've got you covered all across the GTA. And as well, I forgot to mention earlier, we are doing raffles for our members starting December 12th for the 12 days of Christmas. So every day a member will be drawn at random and will win a prize. And our grand prize will be, in this order, a stadium jacket, a custom frame with last year's team with these one-of-a-kind, only 20 in North America were released for this set in a beautiful frame. And the grand prize, a foosball Gettoni table, custom printed with our Alliance Stadium. I mean, who doesn't love that, right? So that's great. All you have to do is be a member. You don't have to pay anything. You just got to be a member. jofctoronto.com/memberships. And on behalf of myself, James and John, we want to wish you and your families a very Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all of you. Thank you for your support. But support our team. The players need our support now more than ever. So with that, I'll end it off. Thank you again for listening to the 6 Yard Box Podcast. Fino alla fine, forza Juventus.